Hello, I'm Marc. I'm the host of the Channel Chat podcast show, and today I have the pleasure of Paul O'Sullivan, the UK sales director for Threatscape, in the studio. How are we doing, Paul?
I'm good, thanks. You?
Yeah, I'm really good. Thanks for coming down. Now, you've come all the way down from Sheffield, haven't you, today?
Aren't you privileged?
Yeah. So how's the drive down? Good?
Yeah, troll-free, incident-free.
And listening to podcasts, I believe.
Listening to podcasts, indeed.
Great. Well, we'll get onto that in a bit. But normally, Paul, I look through someone's profile, and normally I find something where I think, why have they done that? And today, I have found something why they've done that, because you started off your career, and I'm going to say to the listeners, I actually thought it was going to be, I looked at Rotherham College and it was said business studies. I thought, actually, maybe he went straight to sales, then marketing. But for the listeners, Paul started his career in the IT manager for Rotherham Borough Council. How did we start there, Paul? So tell the listeners, how did that happen?
Well, Rotherham is the land of opportunity, right? never get a taxi. No, we shouldn't say that. And there's not a great deal going on there, to be fair. There wasn't then, there still probably isn't. So came out of A-levels and just thought, you know what, I'll go into IT. My parents were horrified, but yeah.
Why were they horrified? What did they?
Because I wanted to go to university. I just had enough of studying. I just get the hell out of there. So packed it in, went to business studies and got the job at the council.
So where was the correlation between doing business studies and marketing, then suddenly working for the council doing IT? They doesn't seem to.
Well, yeah, just that was what was on offer, right? So it was kind of an admin role, but I made it my own as an IT guy. So next thing is the boom of the PC client server kind of explosion. So, MS-DOS, the rise of Windows and all that good stuff. So I was a born and registered developer, and I was a CNE, Novell network engineer.
Were you quite geeky? Yeah, I thought you still are quite geeky.
yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you actually left that job because something far more exciting actually happened. Or I think's far more exciting. So tell the listeners what happened there.
Yeah, well, what was a little hobby in the background? Dreaming of being a DJ and all the rest of it. Doing pubs, bar mitzvahs, and weddings and all that good stuff. Set out and did a little dance event night, and it took off basically. So 12th of January 95 was the first event on a Thursday, 320 people, and it got bigger and bigger and bigger to the point that when we moved to Sheffield in 96, we were the Friday to Gate Crashers Saturday at this club, packing 800 people a week in.
Wow.
So you can imagine it was a tough decision in February 96. Council job, rockstar lifestyle. Bye.
Yeah, absolutely. And at that moment, did you think that could be a career, or what were you sort of thinking?
Probably wasn't really thinking much further than a week in front of me, if I'm perfectly honest. It just grabbed hold of it and went with the ride for all it was worth.
And then where did your sort of IT sales career kick off, and you got into world of technology?
After the eldest was born, it was one of those, kind of nightlife and young family, it's not really compatible.
Yeah.
Nearly went back to being a tech guy, got into the shortlist for a pretty senior job again back at the council. And at the same time, I was looking at sales because I just thought, getting with people, I love technology, just driving around and meeting people and selling technology must be good fun, and you get paid well if you do well. So I kind of drifted into it, but I kind of wanted to do it.
Did you have an understanding of what the job was going to entail? Like IT sales, obviously quite different from being a techie in the council.
Not really. So I kind of found out at the pointy end that, cold calling, all that good stuff, it's... I got onto the early days of the internet boom, so that's probably, I wouldn't be here today were it not for the internet, because there wasn't a lot of IT firms like there is down the M4 corridor.
Yeah. So where was your first big break? You got into IT sales. Where did you think, well, actually, I made this now?
I'd say the first one was GX Networks. There's just two of us in Manchester, a guy called Andrew Gibbons, who was my boss, myself, and then we got more staff on board as well. I remember my first big paycheck in December of 99, the 10k paycheck, and I was like, wow, I went off to New York and spent a load of dough and had a right old time. So I thought, like a lot of people, I made it, I'm the big sales guy.
Yeah, and then you carried on your sales career, but then you went into leadership. So what made you sort of to go into a leadership role?
Yeah, it's interesting all that. I kind of got a bit disenchanted after Proofpoint. I went to place with Follow My Boss there, and that wasn't really a great move. And whereas earlier in my career, I thought, oh yeah, I might aspire to being a sales lead. I kind of felt ready for it. There'd been a few things going on in the background with personal life. So because I had a good chunk of time, got myself back on my feet post-divorce, it meant I could take a bit more of a measured view on what you want to do rather than just being the sales guy. I think I kind of said to myself, I don't be that guy in his 60s schlepping up and down the motorway and service stations and drinking too much coffee and eating too many snacks.
So when you were an individual contributor, were you always had aspirations to move into leadership? Was that the plan?
Yeah, I suppose it was. Yeah. Ultimately, I just felt like, something more to offer. I wanted to be, I suppose, more in control. I guess that maybe came from kind of running my own business as well.
Yeah. So let's talk about some general sales questions, because I often wonder when people go into from an individual contributor into a leadership role, it can go wrong as well. It can go badly wrong because some people that make really good salespeople don't often make really good leaders. So what did you have to sort of learn to make the transition yourself?
I think I'd already learned it. You're absolutely right. I mean, I don't profess to be the best salesperson. I did okay. I did pretty well, actually. But I'm very much about the team spirit. I want the team to do well. And I think if your head's very firmly in that space, then you tend to be hands off. I mean, the first, the proper gig, as it were, at Bridgeway, I was player manager, but I offloaded pretty much all of my accounts to the guys, because it was important that the guys were fed, in my opinion. I was trying to...
Weren't you worried about that? Most sellers thinking, actually, I've got these great accounts, I'm going to give them to someone else, they might not look after them as well as I could. Then I'm making myself potentially redundant. I might not have a role anymore. Was there any worries there?
No, not at all. Because if you've either hired these guys or you've kept these guys because you feel they can do a job, then why would you not trust them to manage the accounts? And you're still in the background anyway as an escalation if something happens. So yeah, not at all.
No, okay. So sales often comes down to sort of building relationships. What's your sort of go-to-market strategy for establishing rapport with clients?
Ooh, there's a question. Just be honest. Just try and be helpful. I think if you genuinely want to help people, and I know some would have different views on this in the various sales methodologies and the like, but I just think, if you generally try to help people and do the right thing by them, then that pretty much helps build that rapport. People see that as opposed to you just there to make a quick buck.
And in the fast moving world of sort of cyber technology, I said to this you at lunch, staying up to date with sort of trends now, very, very difficult. How do you manage to keep yourself informed of what's going on in sort of the cyber trends?
Read podcasts. Mentioned Risky Business, probably my go-to podcast.
And what is Risky Business for the listeners?
It's a weekly podcast run by a guy called Patrick Gray, and his sidekick Adam Wallow. They have people on, sponsors. There's snake oilers. There's different offshoots for the podcast, but it's pretty much weekly news articles and what's going on in the world of cybers.
And just purely cyber focused.
Yeah, absolutely. Then other good ones, there's Darknet Diaries. So for people new to cyber, I'd say that's a pretty good one to get into because it explains the tech a little bit. It makes it a little bit more accessible for non-technical folk. There are others as well. There's things like Belling Chat. There's things like Human Factor that Jenny Radcliffe did. And one or two others as well down the rabbit hole. Yes, there's several. Just go Google, but I'd say Risky Business is my go-to.
Risky Business. Rejection is sort of par for the course for in sales, and we spoke about this on lunch about how to keep your sales team motivated when facing the string of no's or maybe not getting appointments, etc. Now, in your experience, seasoned sales professional, now leader, how do you keep salespeople motivated? How do you keep them making sure they're getting on the phone and trying to get that next appointment or that next sale?
Yeah, good question. I think you got to make it fun because there's nothing worse than a job you hate, right? If you're going to work every day feeling like you want to jump off a ledge, then you're kind of in the wrong job. So if I try and make them less wanting to jump off a ledge and learn to take something from those little steps that you make along that way to building that rapport, to engaging with those prospects, as I mentioned over lunch, came up with a kind of a methodology to try and set a scoring system. So even if they don't get that meeting, but they get a little further along that journey, the pre-pipeline sort of stages, learn to take something from that and take that positive, so you don't go away with the shoulders and your head down and feeling like you want to jump off the ledge. How
do you feel like, and you encourage your staff or people, the listeners out there, about trying to establish some sort of credibility in the market. There's so many customers ringing up. There's so many messages now. There's so many people wanting appointments. There's so many people trying to get people's time in diaries. How do people do it now? It's very, very difficult. It's very competitive.
It is. And yeah, again, as we chatted at lunch, you've got these lazy sales sequences where they just follow the same old tired pattern. Here's a thing. Did you see the thing that's in your top of your inbox? Don't you love me anymore? Or some variation on that crappy theme.
That's automation. It's just, it's really frustrating getting them, isn't it?
It's dreadful. I think you just got to be a little bit more savvy. You can use the technology for good. And I think if you are, so I don't have to use phrase, but I think if you're adding value, if you're sending something that's genuinely useful for somebody, and it looks like you've thought about them and their role and something that could be useful, you're probably going to bubble up in their mind more than just the other chimps who are just firing out nonsense.
Do you believe... When I hear about firing out nonsense and people sending me messages, it does irritate me, those sort of tools, especially if it's automation. But there's a big debate going on at the moment about trying to blend sales and marketing. Marketing want to do one thing, sales just want to get appointments. How do you get that blend right? How do you make sure that sales and marketing are aligned so you've actually got a common goal? Because it seems, again, throughout the IT channel, it goes badly wrong, that.
Yeah, well, we're blessed that my head of marketing here, Threatscape, Kylie, and I are absolutely on the same page, very much joined up. We're very much about wanting the tools to work together. So we've got the sales tech stack, as we call it, and we collaborate in terms of the marketing initiatives plus the day-to-day stuff the guys will do using the outreach tools plus what the externals will do as well. So, if you're not joined side by side, sales and marketing, and recognize it's symbiotic, then you're going to struggle, in my opinion. How
do you make that relationship work? So you've talked about your relationship there. How do customers make it work with sales and marketing? Because normally sales and marketing, it's almost like, sales and marketing, marketing's got this great idea, and then sales are doing something else completely. So how do you make sure it's aligned?
Oh, regular conversation, sharing ideas, bouncing back into collaborating. The company message should be the same throughout. We've got the challenge of trying to break through in the UK and establish more and more of a name for ourselves. So if we've not got that joined up and we're going off Maverick doing something else to what marketing's doing and we're operating a silo, then we're toast. We're going nowhere. I think in the modern age where, certainly our buyers, so CISO, security professionals, CIOs as well for that matter, they can Google stuff, they can find stuff out. So if you haven't got that nailed on your company website and that whole piece, you're going to really struggle. And you look at the smarter vendors who've done that and making it work, and hopefully we're amongst the smarter retailers that are doing that, whereas the others, it's like, it's the 90s calling what the website back kind of thing.
What's the best marketing advice would you give? What are you seeing that's working in the market? What's working for you, for your company?
I don't think I'll answer that because
give you a separate source away.
If only, right? I don't think we've quite got it nailed. We experiment, we try things, we actively look and listen what people are saying on the socials, on LinkedIn and the like, and on Twitter as well. What CISOs and security professionals are saying, and try and gear what we're doing to what we believe are the pains. Listen to your audience, basically. It's your customers. It's probably not really rocket science.
Talking of your customers, let's talk about cyber threats, because it seems to be ever present these days. So what's the one bit of advice that you'd give to an everyday person that's trying to protect themselves online?
Everybody talks about doing the fundamentals, update, patch and all the rest of it, but in a big firm, that can be quite tricky. So, are you doing about an individual or?
Yeah, that's an
individual. Just trust no one. Be very careful and don't reuse passwords and have some complexity. Get a password manager, one password or something like that, and just that's the way you're going to get hosed. Same email address, same password reuse. Big no. People do it.
Yeah, I do that. Yes, I'd be easily get hacked. With the rise of remote working and hybrid working since COVID, what sort of cybersecurity challenges do you see that companies are now overlooking?
I think managing the users, the identities, the access, and still relying on password, either be it complex or otherwise. I think that's still a problem area that people really haven't taken seriously. You know, the lockdown, the endpoint. There's been, you know, we're on the third iteration of, you know, the new. We had AV originally, then we had anti-malware and all the add-ons that came with it. Now we've got EDR, they're the new kids on the block, and so on and so forth. But just making sure that people only have access to what they should have access to, and that you lock down, you know, maybe multi-factor authentication, something rather than password, that would solve a lot of the problems. Phishing, for example. You know, it's not just getting phished, it's then they compromise somebody's machine, they raise their privileges, and then they have a heyday.
Yeah, because hackers are sort of known for their creativity now. So, you know, can you share an anecdote that, you know, about a unique cyber attack that you've come across recently? What are you hearing in the market?
I wouldn't say unique. I mean, we've seen quite a bit with the business email compromise, and one, I'm not going to mention the organisation for obvious reasons, but they were spoofed to one of their customers, which was a hospital. Here's our new bank account details. You know, please pay it. And my friend who's a CISO, was the CISO there, he's kind of had to have that conversation saying, well, look, I'm really sorry, but it's not us, we've been spoofed. You know, we wouldn't have changed our bank number. Somebody should have called us. And I'm really sorry, but that $250,000 we've paid, you still owe us £250,000. So, yeah.
What happens in that scenario? So, that, you know, so you've got the call, I've put it into the wrong bank account. You've got to go to your boss and say, actually, I've paid that £250,000 to someone else. What is the chain of events that happens?
Well, this is the thing, right? You know, we say about how users are stupid, you know, the stupid users. I mean, it's been an IT thing that, and it's stop calling people that. You know, people can get stuff wrong. You know, I've nearly been tricked a few times. I'm sure everybody has.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's that lady in the media company in Scotland who went to court, and the judge actually found in her favour because they were trying to sue her for sending $100,000 to the wrong place, something. Well, what? Just put yourself in her shoes for a minute. She probably felt sick when that happened. Yeah, they're probably the same. It's not nice, right? So just let's stop this blame. The only people who should be blamed are the people who are trying to steal from you, not the poor people who've been duped. Stop calling them stupid.
What actually happens though when that? So for instance, that $250,000 goes to somewhere else. That person then got to go to their boss. What happens? Because maybe they haven't got the $250,000 to pay that CISO. What actually happens?
Who knows? I mean, I'm sure they still got hit with the bill. They had to pay the bill for the work. I mean, I trying desperately not to give a clue as to who or what the industry. Yeah. They still had to pay. So obviously there'll be a contingency fund or something somewhere, but then something else will suffer as a result. I mean, it's the same with all these data breaches. Yeah, there's something to me that's a little bit wrong that the ICO will fine a government organisation, which I kind of understand, and a lot of money for losing personal data, but we all pay for that, you know, one way or another through taxes, right? So maybe somebody should be fired instead for making a bad decision rather than we just shuffle money around. I don't know. I've not got the answer.
Yeah. Where do you see the biggest opportunity in the IT channel for 2023 or now 2024? Because we spoke at lunch and you said to me about there's lots of big VARs trying to do security. Then you've got 30 specialist companies doing it, etc. Where do you see the big opportunities for your organisation? Because the market's growing and the opportunity's there, but there seems to be a lot of complexity and people talking like they're doing lots of different stuff in the market at the moment.
I think taking the complexity out, I think that very word, one of our sort of 4 C's is complexity and helping people to reduce that. Yeah, we bought all these solutions over the years for certain cyber world, and it's, I always use the analogy, it's a mate I used to go dirt biking with, and he had an inner tube that he got more patches on than you've ever seen in your life. It's like, just buy an inner tube, mate, because the more you put patches on, the more you just open up punches because you're patching over patching, and you're laying solutions over solutions. They say defense in depth, but it's the very complexity of all these competing solutions that actually sometimes causes the problem. And you've got a dozen dashboards to go and look at to figure out what the hell's going wrong if you're breached. Good luck with that. So just consolidation, even if what you consolidate down to, if it's not the market leader, but it covers a lot of bases, that's got to be easier to pivot in that, in that platform than something else. And that could be a Palo or a Microsoft or a Symantec or whoever's got the platform play. That's got to be a big win, I think.
Yeah,
simplification.
Because in this landscape at the moment where sort of new technologies are emerging constantly all the time, someone told me there was like 10,000 security vendors coming out there. I was like, sounds crazy to me. But what emerging trends are you seeing in cybersecurity that you're particularly interested in or intriguing, or think actually this could be the new thing?
I mean, I think people try and next guess all the time. I mean, it was Casby. I've once famously said we should do the Casby stuff, and it never really took off. And the MD, will, if he watches or listens to this, will probably have a good old chuckle in the background. I told him. I think just getting a grip of the basics or the fundamentals, because even that in itself is tricky, i.e. the whole patching piece. Get some of the complexity out. Email's still the biggie. Email fraud, people are still getting hosed with that. I mean, we partnered with Abnormal a couple of years ago because they've got an interesting spin on how they go after email security. The model that we all have been following is like a 20-odd-year-old model. Back to the Message Lab days, arguably. So flipping it on its head, there's some wins to be had there. And I think getting a grip of the cloud infrastructure, I think people have gone headlong into cloud and don't truly appreciate that it's complex, right? And even Capital One getting hosed with Paige Thompson, the compromise there, we're going to see more and more of that, because just lifting the infrastructure, chucking it in a cloud environment, yeah.
Now you're in a leadership role, Paul, you obviously do have to do numbers, etc., but maybe you don't have to be an individual contributor. But when you're hiring individual contributors, what are you looking for in them? What impresses you when someone comes to see you for an interview?
Yeah, good question. Depends on what level, because I have a scoring system that I kind of try and apply. It's not completely objective. It's still subjective to a degree, but it kind of helps us get there. And I tend to not look for people in cyber industry because I think the salary's been overinflated. So I look for coachability and curiosity, and I try and ask questions to tease that out to whether I get a sense of that. And it's, have they turned up? Can they be bothered? I had one guy turn up for an interview a few months ago. He rocks up late. He's outside the office, just thinks he's going to get a parking space, not even checked in front. Comes into the meeting, doesn't even apologise for being late. And then no questions, no nothing, trying to command the salary that it was on offer. And then has the audacity to say, I don't think I could work with you because I was putting him under duress a bit during the questioning. It's like, seriously?
You were difficult, Paul.
Yeah. This is, I don't think I could work with you. And I'm just sat there just like, I can't believe that's just fell out of your mouth. He just nuts.
Are you expecting when you interview a candidate, you mentioned their sort of pen and pad, and I normally when I speak to candidates, I say, look, do the basics, bring a pen and a pad, or at least do this. Bring 5 questions that you can ask the interviewer, whether you're doing research on their LinkedIn profile, obviously not asking about you being an IT manager, but asking something of interest. What are you expecting them as a minimum preparation? So when you see a candidate, what are you expecting them to be? Yes, turn up on time, or what else?
Yeah, just have some inkling or some a notion of what we do. And you're right, come with questions, and why are you here? Oh, well, I want to earn some. I mean, when I say to people, motivation, I want to make money. Oh, okay, then great. Everybody says that's the standard answer. Let's imagine you're on number. And then now what motivates you? And actually think about why you're here, because you can go and get a job anywhere. I mean, it's still a pretty active market, right? I mean, I'm sure you're going to tell me. So I don't want somebody who just turn up for a job. I want somebody who wants to come and be part of what we're trying to do, is going to be enthused by it. Because back to your comment earlier, if things are tough, I want somebody who's still going to find that motivation to get up and turn up that day when they might have had a pretty crap week or lost ill, whatever else. It's not always I want it to be. And I hear all different stats how sales teams are underperforming or folk are under quota. There's got to be something that gets them out of bed and motivates them if feel they're going to go through lean times, and that's true.
What are the motivators you're looking for? So you mentioned there, everyone says, oh, what am I looking at? Money? Yeah, okay. What are the motivators you look for? You think, do you know what, this person's going to be a good seller for me?
Yeah, I think ultimately you've got to want to do the right thing by the customer, right? It's all well and good thinking, oh yeah, I made all this money, I'm sold this X, Y, and Z. Sometimes saying no is a good thing, and saying that's not for you, we can't do that. Go and see those guys over there. You have that honest integrity. That, for me, that's a big thing.
And how do you find that when you're interviewing someone? Because let's be honest, we've got loads of people interview. Sometimes the worst salespeople are the best at interviews. They've got so much practice at it. So how do you dig it out when you're interviewing someone?
It's like you see that little thread and you pull on it, and next thing all of a sudden it's like a little yeah, that's something. I mean, I've had some corkers, and when they come, they try and I look for brevity. If they ask a question, come back with the answer. If they don't come back quickly, that's a big red flag. And if instead of saying I did, they say, well, you would, or something wishy-washy like that, straight away it's a red flag for me. I know they're trying to tell me what the process is rather than tell me what they did. There's just little tells in it. I mean, it's hard to say. It depends on the situation, but I can usually get a sense. And
have you got any horror stories? What's the worst thing that's happened to you as an interview where you thought, you know what, this we've got to stop this right now?
Well, this guy came in.
So this is going to be good now. I can tell you.
So we got 3 companies listed on his CV. I'm not going to mention who. Let's just say an insurance company, a financial institution, and another financial institution, all of which I've sold to or still sell to. So the first one comes in there and he sold them McAfee. Sold them Symantec. And I knew they were McAfee shop, for example, so at the time. So he's got these things on the CV and he's bragging about who he sold to. Oh, he sold to then, and he couldn't name anybody. I'm like, well, you reckon you've done a multi-million-pound deal in there? I know the who's who in there. I know this organisation pretty intimately. So that's a red flag straight away. Then the next one, who did you sell to at such and such? Oh, I can't remember. He was a blind guy, a guide dog. And I'm just thinking,
yeah, stop it.
And then
a blind of the guide dog.
And then so we got to the third organisation, another insurer. And I said, who we sell it to there? Then he says, I can't remember her name. He goes, look her up on LinkedIn, and flicked his eye. I'm sat there thinking, like, you just go run along and look her up. And I just sat there and I just... And usually the clue is I'll go, right, what do you do in your spare time? And that's my cue for like, okay, let's make this a wrap. Let's just a little bit of pleasantry and off you trot. And he says to me, I sense the interview hasn't gone particularly well. I said, no, it's not been great. He says, well, what I'd like to do, and he's there always showing off his big clock as well. He's made a point of doing this with his cuffs bang. He says, I'll come back and I'll do a presentation on my business plan. And I went, so what is it that you're going to do in that presentation that you weren't able to articulate to me through questions and answers in this interview? And you know, he like sees somebody like kind of like pencil in mouth, like, advanced, and you can almost hear it click, click, click. Oh, I'd have answered this one. I went, I just put not for me. Thanks for your time. So yeah, that was a howler. That was a corker. That was.
Talking of spare time, you know, balancing a demanding career and a personal life is difficult. What's your favourite thing to unwind and disconnect from the hustle of the cyber world?
Drive 30 minutes to that big lump of land between the Yorkshire and Manchester called the Peak District and go and get lost in a hill there.
Because I said, if you weren't in the field of cybersecurity, what is the alternative career path you would see yourself doing? And you answered it like that. And what is it?
Park ranger in the Peak District.
That's the new career after this.
Tell you what, right? No money worries. You're completely financially secure. You commute. You get in your 4x4 with your dog and you go and drive out somewhere. You have a wander around and those dry stone wall fellow will rather ring that one in and they're wandering off, whatever. You're out in the fresh air. It's not too strenuously going to kill yourself when you're in your 50s like I am, an old man, but it's enough to keep you moving around and it's a beautiful part of the world. What could be better?
There you hear, Channel Chat listeners, Paul is going to be, if you're in the Peak District, Paul is going to be your park ranger after his career. Now, I did ask you as well this lunch, but I need for the listeners to hear this, because what piece of advice would you give someone trying to kick off a career in technology sales today in 2023? Because it's just completely different now and it's hard.
Oh, it is, absolutely is, because as we said over lunch as well and alluded to earlier, you know, the knowledge is in the buyer's hands now. Back in the day, pre-Google, we had the power of the knowledge, so people give us their time, they'd agree to meetings and so on. A lot more tricky now, and certainly C-sales, they hate us sales droids, right? So I would say get your head around the subject matter. Don't try and be smarter than them, but have an appreciation for the world they live in and what the challenge they've got. And it's not just the tax, but also the managing the board's expectations and stuff. And be thinking about that, maybe sector specific. Get your head around the technology that you can use to give you scale. You know, the old days of dialing for dollars, I'm not saying you don't pick the phone to people, but given the picture painted of that persona, of that disc profile, typically of that kind of person, they don't want bothering with your noise. Give me half an hour of your time. Join the queue, you're a moron. If you think that's going to work, think about how you can use technology to raise your profile with them and look like you're useful, adding value, and you can do that at scale with sales tech and learn to master that. And there's books on the subject as well, like sales technology. I can't remember the authors; it will come back to me. But do that and build that that massive, I guess, people who you're engaged with, and I think that's going to catapult people forward.
Absolutely. How much do you believe that AI and machine learning, which is a big topic in the industry now, will change the way that workforces operate now in the future?
I think it will if you're in a more commoditized type of organisation. I'll be curious to see how the likes of, say, Softcat, I mean, massively successful organisation, massive organisation, but if their model is about driving out cost and that's how they've got underneath people, what if you can just throw AI into the mix there and have, you know, AI talking with buyers and just cuts that salesperson out? So that I could see anything commoditized being hit. I don't think where it's more solution based will be affected as much, but it will still have an impact. And there'll be other industries where it will hit. But what do I know? If I knew the answer, I'd be betting on it on the stock exchange, the stock market.
And we have a closing tradition here of Paul on the show about a future guest that you would suggest. So can you give me the name of someone that you think would make a great guest, or maybe a mentor that you've had, or someone that's inspired you in the past that you think, do you know what, the listeners would do really well listening to this person?
Yeah, a couple, I think.
Two then. Let's give me two.
So, guy worked for a Proofpoint. He's currently running one of the divisions at Fortune, Kieran Rafferty. He's a good guy.
Kieran Rafferty.
Yeah, so he'd be worth tapping up. He might be up for it. The other guy I'd say would be worth talking to, who was kind of the mentor boss at Message Labs, was Chris Topman. He's now got a venture capital firm called Notion Capital.
And that'd be interesting.
Another interesting guy, and he's very much into investing in SaaS companies and into niche ones as well. That's his thing at me, looking for niche companies that aren't necessarily owning the entire market, but own the niche they're in.
Okay. He'd be interesting, actually, Chris Topman.
Yeah, so give him a try by all means.
Yeah, I'll drop your name. Right, Paul, you've been a great guest. Thanks so much for your time.
No, not at all. Thank you.